going live now. Cool, says you're live. Just double check on my other thing. Awesome. Hey everyone. I'm just putting in a chat, and we'll start in like 2 minutes. Just let the YouTube streaming buffer go. Cool. Hope you are having a good evening. You guys can say something.
Oh my gosh. Hello, hi everyone. How you going? I still find this very strange, even 18 months on. It's like, you're streaming. I'm like, I can't see anyone.
Yeah,
I'm happy to have a chat with Selena and Kaiki, but welcome to those who I can't see. Hope you're all going well and staying safe and picking up new hobbies. For those of you who are in Sydney lockdown, for those of you who aren't, I hope you're enjoying your freedom to explore and browse while shopping.
All right, I'm just gonna open the questions. Wow, we have a lot of questions already. How are we going? 59.
Whoa!
We'll wait for people to join. We'll wait for a lot more people to join first. Hello, I can see someone in the chat. Hey Jack. Oh yeah, if you want to look at the chat, do you want me to send you a link?
Was that to me? Yeah, that would be great.
Do you two want to look at the YouTube chat?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Selena, do you have the link?
I just sent Jess
cool.
in the Zoom chat.
Awesome. Alright, we all ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming here. And thanks. We have our beloved Jess from Canva. And Selena is co-hosting with me today. She's one of our career subcommittee. And would you guys like to introduce yourself as well?
Of course, Selena, would you like to go first?
Yeah. Hello everyone, my name is Selena, and I am one of the, just like Kaichi introduced, one of the career subcommittee in CSC Soc, and I'm second year studying computer science. And I am I'm stuck at home during the lockdown in Sydney at the moment. And hope you all enjoy your lockdown or find something fun to do. Yeah. Nice to meet you all. Jess.
I think you can enjoy lockdown a bit. A lot of our inner introverts are thriving right now. I know I am. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to jump on tonight and do a bit of an Ask Me Anything. I'm a bit nervous. I don't know what we can talk about, but I'm excited to talk about Canva and kind of my journey. So I graduated from UTS in the end of 2017 in a business degree before joining Canva in mid 2018. So I've been there just for 3 years now. So I've had the great opportunity to see the company grow from about 200 people to over 2,000 people it is today. And I am a little biased, but I think I have one of the best jobs at Canva, getting to create opportunities and ensure that those who are just starting their career have literally the best start. I know that Canva gave me so many opportunities so early on, and I hope to create those same opportunities for those who are on the call tonight, and just talk about that sort of stuff. So excited to be here, and thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Well, our first question kind of ties back to what you just said. So, because most of us are software engineers, computer science students. What is it like to work? What do you do at Canva? What is your what makes up your day?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not a software engineer. I have major respect for you all who are coders and in the engineering realm. and it's a pleasure to work with software engineers every day. So my title is University Programs Manager. We don't really go by titles at Canva, but hey, if you had to put one to me, that's what I do. So I sit within the talent acquisition team, who are the team who hire and grow the village that build Canva. So for me, a day could be attending an event like this tonight. We're starting to plan our internship programs. We're running the 4th and biggest internship program this year. We've doubled headcount. And that goes from actually creating the pool of hosts that you'll actually be working with, and the projects and planning events, so to make it such a super fun and enjoyable 12 weeks, as well as connecting with universities. So you all spend a lot of time in class. It may be virtual, but still in class. And I work with the subject coordinators like Hayden, as well as the director at the computer science school, to actually ensure that the coursework that you're all completing is really industry relevant. So where we do have opportunities of knowledge that we have at Canva, we want to be able to share that with students. So creating those relationships across Australia and New Zealand currently. So yeah, very varied. I don't have one day does not look the same, if that gave you a little insight into that.
I would say like every day is different to you, and every day is like challenging, and then you can learn a lot of things like out of it perhaps.
Absolutely, yeah. And definitely you mentioned learning, and a lot at Canva is learning. And everything that we're doing at Canva, we have not done before. So I actually have a saying that's at the bottom of my screen here on a little post-it note, that unconfidence is the path to confidence. So we may not know how to get there right now, but we're going to give it a good try. And that's what will be the path to confidence in doing it again. So, yeah.
Oh, that's very impressive. Really, yeah. So let me ask the next question. So, which is the best uni society you work with? And if the answer is CSE SOC, then why?
I think all student societies are really special in their own way. And that's what makes my day even more varied, because what might be of interest for students at UNSW or CSE SOC might be completely different to our machine learning students at University of Adelaide. Something that I think you should really reflect on at CSE SOC is your organisation skills and the volume of events that you have planned and run. I don't know how you all have time. Literally, like, you're studying and you're also planning events literally every week. It's like, oh, we're doing this event. I can't keep up, and this is my job. So I think that's amazing. But also I can see that whenever people go along to events, you're actually all happy to be there and you're excited to be there. And it's not easy to build a community where people can bring their whole selves. So I really encourage you never to lose sight of that. Welcoming first years who have never seen what a computer science society is like. I feel that you've all done an amazing job in welcoming them, and please continue to do that.
Thank you. I think all of our directors, execs, and subcommittees are working really hard, despite that they are full-time studying as well, to create.
And it shows, for sure.
Okay. Remember one of those events that you've done with CSE SOC, you had a really cool music at the start. Someone wanted you to share the event music playlist.
I know this says anonymous, but is this Waleed? So little hint, these aren't actually public playlists. I'm really sorry. So we actually have a few in-house DJs. One happens to be Cameron Adams, the third founder of Canva. And so he plays at our weekly global sit down, so the intro and outro. And for events, I wanted to kind of give a little insight into what just a normal global meeting is like. So I actually pull snippets from there. But if you have an intern, I can definitely share you the links, and it's a great playlist to work to for sure. Very motivating.
Can you tell us more about the global weekly, or was it weekly sit down?
Yeah, so they're weekly sit down. So they're Tuesdays for about 45 minutes, and we come together as an entire company. So we have what we call Canva campuses, and that's in Sydney, Beijing, Wuhan, Austin, and Manila. But we actually have a globally diverse workforce, so they're literally across the globe. But we take time to come together, have an update there's always an update from Mel. So she's our CEO, just kind of like how the product's going, how we're going as a team. Something that we've started is we always start with tweets of what our customers are saying. So we're very customer centric because, we have a huge responsibility of delivering a product to over 60 million monthly active users, and it's only growing. So it's always great to stay connected. And then we include launches, so things that have just gone live and are now in prod for our users to use. We also have a community story, so that's deep diving into potentially, we've seen ones where, teachers who've had to pivot to be remote, how the product's really empowered them. We often hear from our non-for-profits, and we have over 100,000 non-for-profits using the free Canva Pro. So we hear from them. And also my favorite segment to wrap up is the good news. So we include good news from around the world. Actually, these are volunteer Canvanauts who just kind of put a mock. If anyone knows the ABC, like Triple J news intro, we use that, and we look at what's good in the world, and also within close to home, so within the Canva teams, whether someone just got married or had a baby, and it's a time for us to kind of acknowledge big milestones in life. So yeah, every week it's really great to just kind of sit down and reflect and see where we're at with the company.
That's a really good way to unite the employees across the world, right? And actually, I have a follow-up question about you're talking about the non-for-profit products that many people are using, like the Canva Pro. So can you introduce a little bit about how does that work?
So the non-for-profit program? Yeah, absolutely. So we have kind of two aspects in the non-for-profit space. So we have the non-for-profit program, which allows any non-for-profit, they just fill out a quick form, just a little bit about them. And this gives them Canva Pro access for free for life. We know that every dollar is stretched very far in the non-for-profit space, and we feel that visual communication is something that can help them achieve their goals, and that shouldn't be something that a monetary subscription could be holding them back from reaching their community base. We also have the Canva Foundation. So the Canva Foundation is our non-for-profit arm, which is part of the Pledge 1%. So that's Pledge 1% of our equity, profit, and time. So everyone at Canva has 3 days of volunteering time. We also have a matching program. So for every dollar that a Canvanaut donates, Canva will match that dollar. And we often have different urgent matters that pop up. So for things like the bushfires in 2019, we actually had a team go down to the South Coast and help them from a project management perspective, because despite the amazing donations, they just didn't have the resources to ensure that it was stored and was given and to the people that really needed it. So we are very kind of reactive to what our community needs at that time. So they move really quickly on that, which is really cool. I think it's really great. And another point is we're very passionate about our impact on this earth that we live in. And we're committed to being carbon positive by 2023. So we achieved carbon neutral last year, and we aim to be carbon positive by 2023.
Wow. Very environmental friendly for sure, like global impact. I really appreciate that. Okay, I like this. Yeah. Sorry.
There's a team behind it, and I think it's great to see they allow those who might not have the knowledge to make an impact, to provide them with volunteering opportunities so everyone can get involved, which is really great. I'm very appreciative of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really like this question. When you're on swap with applications, what happens around the rest of the year?
So we, at the moment, we're still hiring for our interns, but we actually most of the time hire for our graduate positions all year round. We have put them on hold just for now whilst we hire for interns, but I would love to say there is a chill day in Canva, but no, we're constantly hiring. So we've hired how many? I think we've hired around 1,000 people year to date, not just in university programs, but in the team. But the rest of the year, when we're not kind of focused on connecting with the university world and students in general, that's when we're running our internship program, and also putting works in place for a graduate program as well.
That's cool. Selena, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, my dog was just barking. So here's a very interesting question. Like, why did Canva install an ice cream fridge?
Great question. And I don't actually know. It's just one of those delightful moments. This is something that I'll expand on that one. Our head of Vibe, Chris Lowe, like when he joined, he initially was in the kitchen project where we were kind of creating a larger space to cater for more and more hungry mouths at lunchtime and breakfast. And at first he thought, he's like, well, is this just another tech company that's giving their employees benefits to attract them? And it couldn't further stem from that. Our lunches actually began from day dot when Mel, Cliff, and Cam and a few of the first employees would sit around after Cliff had cooked sausages on their like sandwich press grill. One of the early employees actually said, he's like, Cliff, stop. I cannot eat any more sausage sizzles. But it was a time for them to come together and actually just get to know one another as humans, and just brainstorm and talk about things and take a break. You can get so involved in and focus on certain projects. I'm sure you've all felt it with really intense projects that you need to just take a step back and a deep breath. With many of our kind of benefits, as you could put them, they're tied back to our values. So, for example, one thing that I can think of with the ice cream fridge is you rarely eat ice cream alone. So you'd probably be up there going, hey, does anyone feel like an ice cream on the roof? And you'll go and you'll sit and you'll just enjoy a Golden Gay time or a Bubble Bill, like no judgment on what your preference is there. And we often as a team, when we could, we'd go grab an ice cream and go for a walk around the block. But I don't know the actual specifics about that one. But it's just remember that it's not just a nice to have. We've recently come up with our Vibe and Thrive allowance, which is an allowance each year that you can spend on whatever would make you more productive. We actually started a channel to see like what other people were getting. And someone was like, can I claim this on a coffee machine? And the response was, we strongly believe that a caffeinated you will drive you towards achieving your goals. So yes. Or whether it's like a new ergonomic chair, like I know there are some fancy ones out there, desktop, health and well-being, anything like that. It's just an allowance that you can spend to be your best self at work.
That sounds so cool and so fun.
Pretty fun.
Yeah, so this is an interesting question. So one of the most interesting things about Canva is how fast it is growing right now. What do you think Canva and its culture will change when it eventually slows down?
I really enjoy this question because as I mentioned before, like I've been at Canva for 3 years, which in a normal job is like, cool, 3 years, it's kind of standard. But to see the company grow literally 5x over and even more every day, I can confidently say that the culture has not changed. We have a newbie that's joined my team that I'm sure many of you will get to know. Her name is Helen. So she's going to be running a lot of the events here. So you'll see 2 Canva faces. She says, she's like, I'm so impressed. Everyone just wants to help and wants to be involved in events. It's like, yes, that's just what we're like. Of course, I think it's things like communication across teams may break down, but what's important is teams kind of grow, they get too big and then you split them out into smaller groups, too big, and you go ebbs and flows. And teams should always just stay at a size where you can keep driving things forward. So our team structure and our group structure will grow with that. But honestly, you can still, when we were in the office, the founders are still at a desk just like everyone else. Everyone still has lunch together. Everyone still has breakfast. I miss newbie pancakes on Wednesdays. Like, it was a great way to see who is new. When you start, you still get a balloon to highlight, like, I'm new, come say hello. But it's been super cool to see the company grow, and I'm really happy that it's kept to its values. And we decide every business decision based on our 6 values. So yeah, it'll grow along. I don't actually see it slowing down anytime soon. Little hints there. But it will grow alongside us.
Yeah. So basically, like, we are all growing, like with Canva growing together. Yeah, and the company's culture is really friendly, as you mentioned, like helping each other with events and stuff like that. Yeah, cool. So the next question is, how did you end up at Canva, like after you graduated, like not in other companies?
I applied. That's like, there's no like big exciting story. So I applied to a different role. So I applied to it was staffing services associate or recruitment coordinator. So this was the person that, makes sure you have everything you need before your interview, it's scheduled on time, you have your questions answered, and in general just ensure that, recruitment processes are really stressful. I was kind of the person to just check it and make sure you're okay and you were set up for success. And it was about 2 weeks into working at Canva, and my coach at the time, actually still my coach today, came up to me and he's like, "Oh, we're thinking about running an internship program." I'm like, cool. I'd never done an internship. Sounded fun. And he's like, "Do you want to lead it?" Okay. So going back to the post-it note in front of me is, confidence is the path to confidence. I had major imposter syndrome. She was like, who are these people to trust me to build an internship program? But we did it, and we had 11 interns, and that evolved to a full-time position and the chance to lead now the university program space at Canva. And I very much acknowledge that if I'd gone into a very safe and secure position at a large company, which I completely value how this attracts candidates, and they've got amazing programs, but I don't believe I would have had the same chances and opportunities that if I went down that path. And here I am.
I really like the quote that you have on your sticky note.
And confidence is the path to confidence.
Yeah.
There we go. That can be the takeaway. If there's one takeaway, that can be the takeaway.
Exactly. Yeah. We always ask this question to our guests. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes, pineapple belongs. Grilled pineapple belongs on burgers. It does definitely have a space on pizza. I am sorry to those who disagree, but you're wrong.
Yeah. Whoever asked this question, you're wrong.
I'm sorry. We can discuss further. I would like to see what else you would replace the part that pineapple fills on pizza. It's that sweet spot. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's a very cool. That's a very cool answer. And yeah, I agree with the opinion that pineapple does belong to pizza.
Yes, Selena, I'm so glad that you did.
Perfect matches. Anyway, the next very interesting question is, what's the most daunting part of your job? Like you said, it varies so much, but what's something that makes you go, oh geez, well,
oh geez. I think there's always when you're leading a team or leading an initiative, there's always this sense of responsibility that whether that is put on you by a company or whether you place that responsibility on yourself. And so, for example, for me, we're having over 60 interns this summer, which is double the amount that we had last year. And I have a huge responsibility to ensure that every one of those interns feels welcomed and has the best experience. So Mel explains these goals where you have a goal worth pursuing is on that border of a little bit terrifying, but very exciting. And I think that's the most daunting part of my job is where our crazy big goals sit is, they're going to be amazing if you achieve it, but you're just really scared about it at the same time. That's a hint of a good goal to pursue.
Cool. I don't know, do you look at resumes? Because this question is what makes a resume stand out to you?
I do. So I'm not a recruiter, but I do look at a lot of resumes. So our graduate recruiter, Van, is actually who will take you through the recruitment process. But I do look at resumes. There's a really great article that one of our recruiters actually just put together. I'll send it through after. But just something that's very clear and easy to digest. As you're at university, keeping your studies to the top so we can clearly see like where you're studying when you graduate. Also your name and contact details. You don't need to include like your height or weight or whether you have a driver's license unless that's relevant to the role. Your visa status. So we take international students, which is awesome. So just letting us know that. And also including some of the things that you do outside of university. So whether you're part of the committee at CSCSOC or whether you won a hackathon award or whether you just went to a hackathon and did a really cool project, put that on there. When you're considering what to put on and to not include, ask yourself, would I be proud and excited to tell this to my family? If yes, then include it. That's what I would recommend. But no more than 2 pages. 1 page, great. 6 pages, questionable. Just make it stand out from the get-go.
Yeah, keep it concise and precise as well. Yeah, there's a very interesting question. So, someone asked like, he or she saw there's a bunch of new internship positions this year, and when can we expect recruiting internships to open up so we can be your minion?
Not my minion, but when you can be an intern. So yes, we've opened up a bunch of new internship positions in machine learning, data analytics, and we will be starting our infrastructure recruitment soon. So we've literally just kicked off data analytics and machine learning this week. So in the coming weeks, you'll start to receive responses. Infrastructure, so that's your cloud, your DevOps, your SysOps, your data engineering. That will come, I want to say, where are we, July? I would say late August is when you'll start to receive responses there. But applications are in our system. So it's just when Van has a moment to review every single one of your lovely applications.
Yeah. Yeah, too many applications, and Van is really responsible about that.
It is a human that reviews every single application. I promise that. We don't have any screeners or anything like that.
That's so good. Wally has come back. You mentioned that you had a big imposter syndrome when you joined Canva. What was your journey to overcome it?
Yeah, good question. I think with imposter syndrome, it never disappears entirely. It will just kind of peek its head for different reasons. So I often, when I was onboarding at Canva, I was quite, the most common one we discussed during onboarding, and we still discuss it now, is you get this kind of sense of like, oh my gosh, did they make a mistake in the recruitment process? Why am I here? And to overcome this, we have a lot of feedback. It's a very feedback-driven culture. So when I was building the internship program, when I was very vulnerable with my coach, I'm like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling like this is a mistake. And he's like, no, this is actually just what imposter syndrome looks like. So what we would do is run through any major decisions. I would get his input first, and he's like, okay, how could this be improved? What could have been done differently? And working with your coach. So everyone at Canva has a coach, and everyone at Canva has a buddy. So being specific on the areas that concern you and getting that feedback really helped me in kind of overcome it. Something that I'm working through at the moment is discounting. So that's when someone's like, oh, you did a great job on this. There's that little voice in your head that's like, are they just saying that to be nice? Like, no. But actually having the ability to go, okay, yes, I did do a good job at that, and these are the areas that I'm working on, and I know I'm confident in this skill set, to say, okay, great, thank you. That's something that I've been working on. Really great to hear that feedback. Kind of helps build that confidence in when you do receive a compliment. So imposter syndrome and discounting, not everyone's got it together. Actually, it's rarely that they do. It just looks like it from the outside. But yeah, it's spoken about a lot at Canva, and just working through it with your coach when it comes up is the most helpful thing, for sure.
Oh, cool. So you are actually, overcoming the imposter syndrome by talking with your coach. And the compliments from your colleagues as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So just having a sounding board.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because we have a very relating question, is that what's the most rewarding part of your job?
Oh, so much. Ben and I actually talk about this quite a lot. And we, in recruitment, so in our space of recruitment, a lot of you start out as interns and then you go into graduates, and we just say, oh, they're our future CTOs. Because the most rewarding part is seeing how far those who started so early on in our career, that so early on in their career at Canva, are making strides. We have engineers who are solving some of the most difficult problems we have at Canva. We have past interns who are leading teams of 10 to 15 people. That is the most awesome moment to look back and be like, cool, I played a tiny little bit in their journey. So yeah, that's definitely most rewarding.
Cool. Someone is asking about the backend in interview. Yeah, they've heard of mixed things from concurrency of Joe. Do you have any idea like what the backend interview actually contains?
Yeah, so I can see this is most probably for our graduate role.
Mm-hmm.
So for the intern backend positions, it's very much just based on your just CS fundamentals. You don't kind of deep dive too much into concurrency. For our final interview though, that's where you do have 3 different technical questions based on different aspects. I'm just going to leave it kind of at that.
Okay.
So, but it will be assessing you in 3 different areas for a graduate final interview. But if you are just going for an intern, the best way is just make sure you've got strong CS fundamentals.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to ask?
Yeah, so that's very informative. So another question relating to that is that can new grads join data or just front-end and back-end position?
Yes. So data is quite broad. Data analytics, data science, or data engineering.
I think they're referring
Is
to
a yes to all.
the new internship role, because there's only an internship role. They're asking like if there's a grad role for that as well.
Yeah. So yes. So at the moment, for data engineering, this has been primarily through our back-end recruitment process to date, but next year we'll be opening up specific pipelines relating to data engineering, as well as data science. With data science though, we do get specialists, so we do have like machine learning specialists, but if you come in as a back-end engineer and you're interested in search, for instance, you can actually be placed onto search teams and do a lot of data science work, despite having come through the back-end recruitment process. But getting a bit more specific in grad space from next year in the data area.
Awesome. Looking forward to next year. Our grad role for backend competitive or more competitive than front end? Which one's more competitive?
Oh, I don't know. It depends how. One is not easier than the other. I'm just gonna say that they've got separate areas that you're going to assess. I will give a little sneak peek, but there may be a new role coming in the engineering space that is across both back end and front end. I'm gonna leave that there. Keep an eye out next year. It's a good one.
So many exciting things coming next year.
So many exciting things.
Yeah.
But no, one is not more competitive than the other.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So another very interesting question is what's the biggest misconception intern or grads will have about how to make it into like a big companies like Canva or FAANG firm?
FANG. That's Facebook,
FANG.
Apple, Amazon, Google, and Netflix.
Yeah.
The big tech companies.
Oh, okay, cool. What's the biggest misconception about how to make it into a big place? Like recruitment process, or like once you're in the door and making an impact?
I think they're talking about recruitment, like how to make it into.
Okay. I wouldn't say Canva's as big as like Facebook, Apple, but we may be one day. Misconceptions. I think needing to know it all is one that you kind of need to overcome. And so two things. One, needing to know it all. We know that as a graduate or intern, you're going to come in with a lot to learn, and we've got resources in place for you to learn. So you don't need to be like a subject matter expert before you apply. I mean, you could have actually applied, gotten feedback. Maybe you might not have made it the first time, but you've gotten feedback. And then when you apply again, which you can, you know the areas that you needed to brush up on. But just have really strong foundations in your craft. Do not feel like you have to know all of these fancy languages and stuff like that. Number two is the interviewer is trying to trick you. They're not. So the recruiters will often guide you through, and you can also Google things like during your interview. Whoa. And so they will often give you hints. And a component of what they might be assessing is the fact that it's like, well, I gave them hints and then they ignored them. Imagine like you're going into an interview and you're going to be working with a colleague. You're going to put forward a suggestion, and then you can go, like, do you feel that this answers what we were looking for? If they say no, you're like, okay, why? Like, what area could be improved? Okay, well, this could be, this is a bit over-engineered. It's like, okay, I'm going to focus on this area rather than sitting in silence for 90 minutes and being like, cool, I'm just code. Like, it's like when you're doing your remote tests or exams, it's like, it's not like that. Just have a chat. So yeah, don't need to know everything. Interviewer is there to help you.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, being an interviewee, like I am kind of like afraid of interviewers sometimes.
Yeah, it's intimidating. No one likes interviewing. I'm going to tell you now, it's freaky. But just know that they're actually really nice people and they will be your colleagues when you join. So we don't want people being mean. Like, that's no fun for anyone.
That's correct. Actually, I have a follow-up question about that. So once you get rejected, because I heard there are some companies who have like frozen period, like even though like 1 year after you get rejection, you can't, like even though you submit the application, they won't review your resume again. So I'm wondering, yeah, does Canva have that kind of frozen period?
That's sad. So we usually, if you get to usually the second interview or beyond, we'll give you structured feedback on areas that you could have improved on, or areas of knowledge that you may have been lacking. Depending on the feedback given, we usually recommend reapplying with about like 6 to 12 months, which we kind of leave it over to you of how long do you think you need to actually grasp this feedback that you were given. So there's no like, we won't revisit. It's actually like, cool, well, we know this person got to this stage and this is what they were working on. And during the interview, be like, oh, cool, they worked on it. Then that's a good thing. So totally your call, but the recruiter will kind of guide you and go, maybe 6 months for this one, maybe 12 months for this one. But it's no fast and hard rule.
Yeah, definitely improving your feedback. That's really precious.
Yeah.
Fun question. What's a hidden talent of yours?
Gosh, what's a hidden talent?
I don't know, like something that you can do no one else can.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I'm not that special. Hidden talent. One that I'm doing at the moment that I'm learning is my partner and I are converting a bus into a tiny home. So I'm learning how to use power tools and like build things, which I didn't know before, but now I do. So I can fix things and I don't have to pay for a handyman to come over and fix it. I can fix it like 60% of the time.
Yeah,
but it was 60% more.
that's a good talent to get. And you're improving it. You're getting better. This is a follow-up question. Could you elaborate on the 3 different areas that you talked about for the grad interview, for the back-end one? Or is that like...
This one I will leave for when you get up to this stage in the recruitment process. But don't worry, you do actually have a 30-minute call with the recruiter, Van, and she'll take you through each stage in how to prepare and going in depth into what each section is. So, but if you're curious, cracking
the coding
interview is a good start.
Yeah,
good way to prepare.
Yeah, I heard everyone is recommending that book.
Apparently it's a good one. I feel like it's working.
Yeah, definitely recommend it. Yeah, so actually a very interesting question here, like how could we move forward from feeling imposter syndrome when applying for internships or even being rejected from applications as we do not get any feedbacks?
Yeah, I think, one second, I'm just going to scroll down and read that one.
Oh yeah, I put it on.
Yeah, I'm applying for it. Awesome, thank you. I think knowing that rejection is normal from interviews, and just know that everyone has gone through it. I think our CEO was rejected like close to 70 times before she got one of our first investors. So just know it is normal, and you do learn something from each time, even if you don't get direct feedback, because you learn how to be in an interview, and that's really scary. And you know, the next time you do an interview, it's going to be that tiny bit easier. But don't let that fear of rejection stop you from applying to the next role, because it could be the one that you land.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks for that.
Okay.
Ooh, what's this one? Do you read the resume after you review it, or do we just use the resume to get interviews and then you never look at the resume again?
Oh, so during the interview, depending on the role, our interviewers will review the resume during the process. So, for example, maybe if one is our values interview, so we go through a values interview, that interviewer may bring up and be like, oh, okay, can you provide me an example on your last internship? What was the team that you worked with? So it is referred and it is valuable. This is actually just something I'd recommend when you're doing an internship, or if you get a great email referral from a lecturer, is file that somewhere in your email. And then when it comes to actually refreshing your resume, you've got a bank of different points that you can include. Because, you know, it's like when you're refreshing a resume, it's just, oh, okay, here we go. But if you've got points to start, that's a good way to do it. Sorry, just one moment. My dog is wanting to be let out of my room. She's a French bulldog. She makes funny noises. So I'll just one second.
Okay. Oh well. I would like to see the dog.
Yeah, me as well.
Sorry, I did bring her into the office during the internship, so you will meet Winnie.
Cool, can't wait. I feel like this question is more like asking, so as recruiters, after you review the resume and then you are given an interview, do you refer back to the resume, like even though they get to like the final stage of interview, or is resume only for the first stage?
From a recruiter lens, they'll only review it at that first stage.
Yeah.
But it's up to the interviewers at the second stage and the final stage whether they will review it or not. It's very much catered to the role.
Okay, I think that answered that question. Thanks. Selena, do you have a question to ask?
So maybe next one is like, are you still having a hiring search, like our grad positions too? But I think Jess just mentioned that we have that constant recruiting grad positions all over the year. Am I correct?
Correct, yes. We just have closed them for a little bit just whilst we wrap up intern hiring, but they will be going live again in September.
Cool. What's this one? I got an interview times email and email the Canva recruiter with a question and a follow-up, but never got a reply. What do they do?
You can just forward it to me. It might be something I can answer. Jessica.b@canva.com. Happy to have a look at that one for you.
Thank you. I'll put it in the chat.
That's so nice of you, because I have another question. Like, is the graduate backend recruiter on leave as well? Because maybe he or she hasn't heard from them yet.
Yeah, so I think this could have been with our recent just hold on the grad roles. It's important to know your applications don't disappear and go up into thin air. Even if you apply like a month or two ago, we will revisit it. It is there and it is waiting eagerly for us to review. So just because you haven't heard from them yet doesn't mean that you won't.
Are there any car requirements for internship positions?
It's a really good question. I like this question. No. I feel like internships are one of those first time working in a corporate workplace opportunities. So how do you get experience if how do you get experience if everyone asks for experience kind of thing? Yeah. So no. No hard requirements, just an eagerness to learn.
Yeah. As long as you're willing to learn. And
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's a very interesting question as well. Like, any tips on negotiating total compensation? Like, force on competing offers?
Yeah, I think it's always value. This is a good one. So when it comes to recruiters asking, like, do you have any competing offers? And you go, I do, but I can't disclose them to you. But it's not serving anyone. Often the reason why we ask for competing offers is to ensure that you're going to be granted adequate pay. We do have strong competing offers, but there are some that pop up here and there that may have been a higher, I don't know, not a higher base pay, but like they've got a bonus system, for instance. And we need to deliver as much information to our compensation team as possible to come back with an adequate returning offer. So holding your cards super close to your chest isn't actually helping, but communicating through with the recruiter is actually the best way to negotiate your compensation.
Thanks for the insight. What's the worst resume you've ever seen?
I don't know. There hasn't been a standout one, I have to say. Usually it is interesting. I wouldn't say it's the worst. I find it interesting when someone who potentially could be like they've just started their studies, rates them, like, you know how you can do these rating bars sometimes? It's not necessary. Don't use that space for other things. Just like labeling what languages you know is perfect. but rated themselves high on like 15 languages. But it wasn't high, it was just 100% on everything. So it was very interesting. I mean, I don't think they made it through the recruitment process. So just labeling what you know, rather than rating how well you know it, because it's very, very open to interpretation, I'll say.
Yeah, that's
just use Canva. Use Canva. It's really pretty. No bias whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm gonna remake my resume with Canva.
It's not essential. I'm not saying it's essential.
My Zoom background here is using Canva. It's pretty.
Oh, yay! Looks great, Selena.
Yeah, thank you. There is a very interesting question here. Like, are there any interesting events relating to women's power at Canva since one of the CEOs is a woman? Or like, does that change, like, influence the company's culture as well?
Where was this? Could we pop that onto the...
Yep, I just did.
So...
Should be the top one.
Yes, okay, perfect, yes. I love this. Absolutely. So we have a Canva Women in Engineering group that meets every month just as a way to connect with one another. We also have, we're very lucky, we have internal career coaches. So we're the only company in Australia that offers this. And one of our internal coaches has created a program called Unstoppable Me. And that is a 3-month coaching program that runs through and breaks down any barriers that are historically have limited females or other underrepresented groups to be their most successful selves and have the impact that they want to. So we've had about 40 of our software engineers go through that, and there's another cohort in place. But that is extremely empowering. We are not going to say that we have solved the one particular challenge is the gender balance issues in engineering. We are far from that, but we are wanting to ensure that those who do choose to work at Canva are supported and have the resources that they need to be successful. To help overcome the little representation or the unbalance in STEM in particular, we're partnering with the likes of CSIRO's Generation STEM program, which is a 10-year initiative to encourage students to pursue careers in tech. We're also an endorsed employer of Work 180, so we publish all of our policies so everyone can focus on just being their best selves during the recruitment process rather than focusing on, do I have to ask a difficult question relating to different leave types? And there's more work underway to build a better balanced tech future of Australia. So it's very passionate of us. I can keep going if I feel like, but they're just a few of what we're working on.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. What kind of follow-up question? How can we as CSE Soc or CSE improve diversity in tech?
I think having the conversation, and sometimes the conversations are difficult, and it's a lot of internal reflection around maybe some of your own unconscious biases and internalized biases, but speaking to those groups as well as ensuring that those who are in public-facing roles, so the committee members, have broad representation, because there is something that people look for is representation or a role model to be like, okay, well, if they're there, that means I can do that and I'm welcomed here. So being conscious of that, but also educating the group on how different minority groups may have historically felt excluded as well, but it links to that starting with a conversation and prioritizing it.
Yeah, these are really good points. Like to educate the group and to make them feel included as well. Yeah. So here is another question relating to recruitment. Like somebody asked, like, can I apply for 2 different positions and not wait for like 6 months cool down period as I am applying for different positions? For example, like I applied for data and backend at the same time, but like I got rejected like for the data position. Like, can I apply for the backend at the same time as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So you may have specialized skills in one area that fell through in the other. So you can absolutely be considered for a different position and not wait the 6-month cool down period. Absolutely.
Cool. I'm interviewing with other top tech companies, and it's really difficult to manage timelines with Canva starting grad recruitment in October. What do I do?
This is a hard one, and it is in general hard. Like it's rare that you'll have, when you are interviewing at so many different places, have those offer timelines match up. Yeah. I think if you would like to, if it's also have the conversation and see how flexible those other the other tech companies you are with their offers, if they'll give you the space and time to think about it whilst interviewing at other places. I think it's very important to not be pressured, and you know, some recruiters may say, you have to make a decision right now. If they don't give you valid reason, it's a big decision, so you should be supported in taking space to think about it. What I would say in this particular situation, because the grad recruitment is on hold, is I would email Van, so van@canva.com, and highlight that you're currently interviewing, you foresee you receiving offers at this point. Can we please prioritize your interview when we do start recruitment again? But just being open, going back to that transparency point with counter offers as well. Like the more information, it's actually serving both parties.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's your favorite university memory? Wow, I love this question.
Wow. Coming back. I think it was, this is like really geeky, but I think I think it was when my group presented our capstone project, and it had just been sleepless nights in the lead up, and we just all celebrated afterwards, and it was just like that big sigh of relief that we'd accomplished something, and it was so huge. And it was one of those team projects that it was actually like really productive and everyone worked together. Team projects can do that. So yeah, that was probably my favorite university moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, Selena, you're back. Do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, next question. What's your biggest regret in life?
This is getting deep, team. My biggest regret in life.
Probably just anything that you can remember on top of your head. Like, what's your biggest regret you can remember? Yeah.
Not taking every opportunity to eat white chocolate. I love white chocolate. That is my biggest regret. There should be more opportunities to eat white chocolate. And I remember specifically saying no sometimes. And what a regret. Life's too short not to eat chocolate.
Why'd you say no?
I'm sure. I don't know. That's why it was a regret.
Yeah.
I regret not traveling as much as I can before the lockdown, or like, before the COVID things happening.
I was meant to Canva's very generous, and you're allowed to take extended unpaid leave. And I was going to travel to Europe for a year last year, but Miss Rona had other thoughts. But turns out that like so much positive stuff has happened at work this year that I'm kind of happy. So yeah, but white chocolate's still my biggest regret.
Yeah. Does Canva view cover letters? I do not have coding experience to put on my resume until extracurricular activities.
I view extracurricular activities a big value add. It doesn't matter if you don't have coding experience. With cover letters, it's totally up to the individual recruiter. Like some love them, some hate them, or not hate them, but don't look at them as much. When you're submitting your application and building your resume, think of the end user. So you're showing this to someone who's very busy, is reviewing a lot of applications. So how are you going to make their life easy to stop and read through your application? Cover letters risk getting quite text heavy, so therefore they're glanced over. Some roles do specify for a cover letter, and then absolutely definitely include it there.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, next question. I'm very interested as well. Like, what are some of the clubs at Canva? Like, could you give us an example? Like,
oh my gosh, let me get my Slack up. Some that I'm part of. I'm part of True Crime Club. I'm part of, so we just like review a case and then we discuss it over pizza and wine every month. It is amazing. Plant Club, Hiking Club. That's really nice. We do a monthly hike. You've got Location Club as well. So like we have a Melbourne club, and we have a Brisbane club, and we have an Adelaide club. Grads 2021 club. Yes, I totally lurk on there to organise events for them. Canva Women Engineers Club. What else? There's Dance Club. I can go, there's it's not really a club, but it's the best channel on Canva. It's called Doggies, and everyone just posts photos of their dog.
Oh.
It's the best. Yeah, it's amazing.
There
so
still
many,
should be a doggy club.
I know. I feel like there was a puppy parent club, and we just all essentially supported one another through which were sleepless nights having a puppy dog. I missed an important club, Messina Club. So everyone used to just go to Messina every week and get Messina, and we've taken photos and we're literally like halfway down Crown Street. I do feel sorry for the Surrey Hills Messina when Canva comes about. Just zero warning, and it's like bam, everyone's there.
Oh.
So hopefully that was a large array of club examples for you.
There should also be a white chocolate club for you. You should start one.
This is a good idea.
100%.
I don't disagree.
What is a hot take of yours? Actually, it doesn't have. It has to be hot.
What is a hot take?
It's like an opinion that could be controversial.
Oh. Well, pineapple on Pizza Club. That is my hot take. Actually has to be hot. White chocolate is chocolate. It is chocolate. People say it's not chocolate. It is chocolate.
Someone said on the YouTube, dark chocolate is superior.
No! Who said that?
Well, you have two clubs to
David.
start. You have two clubs to start when you go home.
David, I will put together a lightning talk on why white chocolate is superior to dark chocolate.
Yeah, like do you like that? Do you like dark chocolate as well, or just white chocolate?
Bad chocolate. Like,
It is not. David has responded.
it's chocolate, but it's like, it's not, yeah. I kind of view it as, like when people talk about how it's like, oh, adulting. That's like what I view dark chocolate as. It's just not as exciting as milk chocolate or white chocolate. But David, I do respect that you enjoy the dark chocolate, which is fine. It means you're not going to come for my white chocolate. So that's okay. You enjoy your dark chocolate. I'll enjoy my white chocolate. Done.
Perfect.
Yeah. Guys,
Do you want me to ask? Okay, what's your WPN typing speed? Someone's
It is-
104.
It is shocking.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, my partner sent me it, and it wasn't until then that I realized I only type with 3 fingers.
Really?
I always was like, how do people get only type with like 2 fingers? No, sorry, I lied. It was 4 fingers. So I only type, and the rest of my hands are up like this. So I'm needing to go back and teach myself how to type for good typing speed. Good job. And mine isn't very good.
Here's a very fun question. Like, is bread a recursive sandwich?
Oh my god.
It's a very techy question.
I agree.
More like it's a loaf of bread, a recursive sandwich because it's a bread inside a bread inside a bread inside a bread.
But yeah.
My brain wasn't prepared for these questions.
Yeah, let me remind you guys. Jess is not a software engineer. We said that at the start.
I get it, but I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, okay. Probably your brain is probably not programmed for this.
It's not. My brain is programmed for people problems and
For having
people
fun.
programs. It's not for bread recursive sandwich that is now going to keep me up at night. Now that's what I'm going to think about. Is it?
I don't know. Let's all just have fun. Forget about this. Selena, do you have a question?
Yeah, so let me see. Actually, there's a very fun question here. If you could work anywhere in the world, doing any job, whatever, like what would you do and why?
So part of me, so immediately I would actually continue to do my job, but I would love to work from Queenstown, New Zealand for a little while because I love snowboarding and New Zealand is stunning, so beautiful, and hiking and everything. So maybe I might do that for a little bit when borders open. When I retire, I would love to open up an animal sanctuary and just like rescue animals and make them, ensure they have a happy, healthy life for as long as possible.
That's
That
so
would be
sweet.
my dream when I retire.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I don't want to open links because someone sent a link. Do you think this is accurate? I don't know.
Yeah, someone's asking about like the salary, like average salary of software engineers at Canva is about 120K per year. So yeah, they're asking like, is that accurate?
I can't comment to say if it was the median package for every software engineer. All I can say is our salaries are quite competitive, and it's based on how you perform and not based on tenure. So say you come in on a certain amount, if you perform and make such a huge impact during your first year, you will be compensated for that. So it's competitive. I can't say that this is the median package for all software engineering, so.
I think David asked a really good question here. How could students move forward from feeling imposter syndrome when applying for internships or even being rejected from applications? Do you have any tips?
Remember that everyone started somewhere and you are just at that start. Our CTO, David Herndon, so he was previously at Google. My coach hired him as a grad to Google. He is now our CTO. He may have been feeling a similar sense of imposter syndrome than what you were at the time that you're going through right now, but you've got to start, and it's going to be overwhelming. There are going to be steep learning curves, but surround yourself with your coach, so have that feedback loop, but also lean on the other graduates who are going through a similar transition and validate the fact that they may be feeling a similar thing. But you've got to be in it, and just be patient with yourself as well. It's a nerve-wracking period. Don't push that aside. It is that's how it is, how you definitely will be feeling. But just take one step at a time, and remember, everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah, maybe like everyone starts somewhere, and don't get so depressed and stressful about like not having a good start. And here's a question, like how many people are there in grad cohort? Do you have an upper limit on how many you are taking in?
So we're taking about 80 grads this year, and we'll take probably over 100 next year. So for our graduate headcount and our internship headcount, it grows alongside the business. So if the business broader engineering is growing, then graduates will grow alongside that. And as I mentioned, I don't see us slowing down anytime soon. So it will continue. All of our graphs just will look like this. So it will continue as well.
That's good to know. Is there anything you never got a chance to do during your uni life but really wanted to do? It may have changed. I'm not putting down my past uni, but our clubs were nowhere near the level that CSC SOC is at. I wish our clubs were so much better. Once again, may have changed. If there are UTS people on here, make it better. I think if there were more opportunities like with CSC SOC to connect with businesses to actually understand what they do, also understand that you don't have to be a fit for every business that you meet. That's what networking and everything is about, is being cool, that's a great company, but it doesn't really work with my values or where my growth is. So you didn't actually have to go through an entire recruitment process to figure that out. It was actually through these sort of events, and building a really strong community. You never know when you're going to need to reach out to a CSC SOC alumni to be like, hey, so want to get me a referral to your new place of work? Is also really important. So don't lose those connections.
Yeah, good to hear about that. A very, tricky question. Skydiving from 1,000 feet or scuba diving into deep ocean? Which one would you do?
Skydiving. Yeah. I have a fear of open water. Don't know why. Grew up around a beach. Love the ocean. Terrified of open water. So definitely I haven't skydived. Maybe I'll do that. Am I committing to something?
Maybe you'll change your mind when you're on the edge of the plane.
I think I will need them to push me. You know how they just kind of push people. But I would rather skydive. I would hate to bungee jump. I don't understand the logic, but definitely skydiving would be when I'm feeling like doing an extreme sport.
Cool. Is it easier to negotiate higher salary at the beginning or do while working at Canva and raise salary later?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely working well at Canva and raise the salary. Because by working for a company, this kind of goes across the board. It doesn't matter where. Because when you're recruiting, the company is taking a shot on you to bring you on board in hopes that you will deliver the performance that you have showed through the recruitment process. But there's only so much. Once you actually develop the relationships and have your proof of work and have the impact, that is where you're going to see major differences with your salary and see it grow. So yeah, just keep that in mind when negotiating. And I know salaries are super important, but you should be looking at a company more than what is on the paycheck. I know that's very enticing and it does play a role, but are you actually, like, all of the benefits aside, is what you're doing every day interesting? Are you being challenged, or are you being paid a lot of money to do a job that you hate? That's just things to keep in mind when deciding. Yeah.
That's a very interesting, kind of like a dilemma, but not quite.
It's kind, yeah, it is a dilemma. It is very difficult, and you'll kind of find your own way. But yeah, just look at the full spectrum of the opportunity rather than just what's on your paycheck.
Yeah, like the full scope of your career path. Someone asked, like, notice you have a lot of CSC songs learning at Canva. Does this prove CSC song is your favorite?
I don't have a favorite. I see the tie that you're trying to make. I can't say that everyone is my equal favorite. All societies that I work with are my equal favorite. I'm leaving that answer there.
Yeah, good answer. How is diversity in your tech internship grad roles? How is the diversity looking?
I think diversity can be measured in very different ways. That there isn't just one lens. We have a diverse team from where people have relocated from. So we've always had a global talent workforce. From an age perspective, how can we be ensuring that we're bringing both well-experienced and long-term people into the company, and then also there is gender, of course. We don't really measure it at this point in time. Yeah, I think that's it. Kind of stems to just ensuring that everyone at our company can bring their whole selves to work. So whether that's through educating and celebrating different days of significance across cultural and heritage backgrounds, whether it's celebrating parents and ensuring that they have the leave and support, and whether it's if it's gender diversity, whether it's through the Unstoppable Me program. So there are many facets of diversity at Canva, which is really cool. Haven't solved all of the problems, but just ensuring that all groups are supported in their own unique ways.
Yeah, we can see from like Canva accepts international students, like that kind of diversity culture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so here is a very high voltage question, like any Netflix recommendations?
Yeah. It's a bit of an old one, but if anyone likes crime, The Alienist just finished watching that. Very interesting. Crime recommendations. Probably or The Office, you know? Sometimes you just need a classic. How many times have I watched it? Too many, but dependable, you know?
That's cool. I see you like crime because you're also in the club, the true crime.
I know, it's like, I know, it's very strange. My partner is like, are you okay? Like, you like crime a lot. I'm like, it's just interesting, nothing more.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. This is a follow-up from the previous salary question. Have you ever negotiated your own? Do you negotiate with yourself?
Yeah, so I have not at Canva. I have negotiated it before. But there's actually, I'm going to recommend a podcast here. She's on the Money. So if anyone listens to it, there's actually a negotiating your pay episode that takes you through how to negotiate your pay. But if it's from an internal promotion standpoint or a pay rise, being very specific on the impact that you've had and all the additional responsibilities that you've taken on. So essentially you're selling to the company why you are valued and for an additional pay rise. Practice as well. I know this sounds weird, but like practice the conversation with a family member or a friend and have them ask how the different questions pop up. And then be confident with the fact that you do deserve what you are asking for, and also doing market research. So yeah, don't go into a conversation unprepared, but have the confidence to back yourself because you have solid examples.
Yeah, cool. So actually here is like a follow-up question, like is Canva internally transparent with employees' salaries to help underpayment issues?
Yeah, great question. So we've actually just formed, it was the last 18 months, a comp and benefit team. So they are taking a look at ensuring everyone is paid appropriately. We've also introduced our career track. So whether that's on coaching or on a build track. So that's a lot of our engineers who just want to focus on technical problems. And we're going to go through a transitional pay stage where we are choosing whether everyone has the information they need to be successful without being redirected or kind of focusing on things that aren't driving them forward. People are welcome to speak about their pay internally, that is fine. But we haven't revealed, everyone can't see everyone's pay, but the coaches and those who do make pay decisions do have full transparency onto what other people pay. So the people who are making the decisions have transparency.
Okay. Cool. If you can change the tech recruitment industry, what would you do? If you could change anything, what would it be?
Oh, tech recruitment industry. I think despite it being in tech and there are a lot of tools that can help scale and everything, just keeping it as human as possible. You can't generate a bot that will check in and show that they genuinely care. So if there was some way to ensure that there was an appropriate amount of applications to recruiters, to recruitment coordinators across the whole industry, because it's especially in early talent, that nervousness when you're going through the process and that sense of imposter syndrome, having kind of that catered candidate experience would be what I would change. So everyone felt taken care of. My gosh, so warm and fuzzy. That was, that would be my answer.
Yeah, it's good to know. What are your thoughts on whiteboard interviews in tech? Because there has always been comments that they unfairly biased towards extroverted people.
Oh, interesting bias. Yeah, I can see how that would make sense. I don't have strong opinions here just because I'm not involved in creating the questions or assessing candidates. What I could say is it's very much down to the interviewer as well. So even if you are introverted or extroverted, you still need to have the ability to communicate with your team and communicate your technical solution that you're proposing. But I believe that it's on the interviewer to ensure that that candidate feels psychologically safe to actually have a conversation, taking into consideration that an interview is also nervousness. So yeah, that's probably the extent that I could comment on it. But good question. Interesting bias. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Good question.
Do grad roles join at once or throughout a year? I believe he said throughout the year, right?
Yeah, I think so. Good question. We have start dates every 2 weeks. So with graduate roles, you can actually apply up to 12 months in advance. If you're highly organized, good on you. So you can lock in a date, complete your studies, and then know that you have a graduate role waiting for you when you complete it. We do have quite a lot of graduates start during the January and February period. That's just due to the nature of the university calendar. But we don't have a specific graduate date yet, no. So if you want to chill out for a few months though, for sure, like you earned it, you worked really hard. Or if you'd like to get started sooner, we can definitely cater for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe the best advice is just to apply for it.
Yeah, and then start dates are just like paperwork. You can change them as you need, like completely flexible.
Yeah, exactly. Here is another question relating to application. Like, how much weightage do you give to resume, behavioral interviews, and technical interviews?
Good question. So resume will get you in the door, depending on the role. So if you're applying for a technical role, we kind of call it craft at Canva. This is where majority of your time will be spent assessing different components. But behavioral is also ensuring that you're a good human. So we need to ensure that if you are coming into Canva, you're empowering your team and driving your team towards achieving their goals. So, you know, it's kind of like a bad saying, but we refuse to hire the brilliant asshole. So you could be extremely intelligent and that's amazing, but you're going to hinder a team rather than be a team player, then you're better applying to somewhere else. So that's where our behavioral assessment comes in.
Yeah, definitely. Be a good human.
Exactly,
Super
be a good human.
Oh yeah, how do you define grad role? Can you still apply for grad role if you've been working like for a few years up, like during uni?
So we define a graduate at Canva as anyone with less than 2 years industry experience. But also with graduate currently, it's just kind of a recruitment channel. From day one, you are just a software engineer. You will be given software engineer responsibility. There are no like, oh, work on this grad project. It's nothing like that. You're making impact from day one. So I would apply for the grad role even despite having the work experience, or for now, since the grad role is closed and you do have the work experience, going through just the standard software engineering role would also be fine, because you'd be coming in at the same level, like you'll just be coming in as a software engineer, like our graduates just come in as a software engineer as well.
Cool. A related question: does Canva have white chocolate in the cafeteria?
So good. Sometimes our chefs are so lovely and they just surprise us with like little afternoon treats. There's actually a Slack channel called Little Birds. And so whenever there's like surprise donuts or like little cupcakes or white chocolate, then they post on there and then you can just go get an afternoon treat. They have white chocolate Tim Tams, but that is the closest thing as just the standard snack allotment goes. It's okay. It means that white chocolate's still just a treat every now and then. It's okay.
Sweet. How long does it take to get a response after submitting an application or receiving a referral?
There's a theme here.
Yeah.
It's dependent on where Ben is at with the recruitment process. So we have, she's focusing primarily on internships at the moment. So that's why grad roles have slowed down a little bit, but don't worry, your application is there in our system, and she will review it when she's had a moment and actively recruiting for that role.
Follow-up question for the white chocolate perhaps. Like, can you give us a few examples of the type of free lunch Canva has and some cuisines?
Oh my gosh, okay. How long do we have?
The more the merrier, that's in the question.
The more the merrier. Okay, let's go. Okay, so there was this one week where we had like fried chicken burgers, we had pizza, we had hot pot, we had Lunar New Year. We have so many dumplings during that week. It's best. Sushi, we have gnocchi, lasagna. We have heaps of fresh salads. So we have a farm in New South Wales out near Windsor, and 80% of our fresh produce comes from there. So we have heaps of fresh salads as well. What else? Newbie Wednesdays, we get we get pancakes on Wednesdays with bacon. As like a little celebration, we got the interns to choose what they wanted for breakfast. So they had like chicken and waffles. We had chicken and waffles. We have, what else do we have? So much good vegetarian food. I don't know what they do to mushrooms and tofu, but it's like amazing curry. So Song, who's been with us for 7 years, he makes the most amazing red duck curry ever. I can stop if you're all hungry. It is dinner time. Yeah, that's just a few.
Sounds like
very lucky.
Yeah. Sounds like all the cuisines are included. It's so nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, fun fact. This was 2019, so it's a little while ago. But for Bastille Day, so we cooked half a ton of beef, to celebrate Bastille Day. Devoted my food is. And also, none of the food goes to waste as well. So we have an organic bin. So all of the waste is diverted to that, and it creates our own composting system as well. So no waste.
Amazing. Selena, do you want to ask the next question?
Yeah, next question. Why is snowboarding better than skiing?
I can actually answer truthfully here. I grew up skiing and it was fun, but like snowboarding, you can go down the same run, which in Australia, let's be real, we're lucky that we have snow, but we're quite limited in the size of the ski field. And you can just do so many more tricks and it's just so much more fun. And it's just better. I can put together a lightning talk as well as why snowboarding is better than skiing. So follow me up afterwards. I'm happy to have a chat.
We have many lightning talk coming up.
Many lightning talks.
White chocolate, skiing,
pizza. I mean, pineapple on pizza. It's a series. It's going to be a series, Selena.
Definitely. Hi, Chi.
How many seconds or minutes do you spend per resume?
So there's like there's a fact that it's like 6 seconds.
I think it was
resume.
7 seconds. Yeah, it was like a saying.
7 seconds. Oh, it's gone up. I actually I can't tell you hand on heart that is how long recruiters do spend. What they're going to be looking for is something that one catches their eye and then qualifies from top down. So for example, it could be your name, university where you're studying, and then if next is experience, and then you've also got on the side the languages that you know, and then at the bottom any extra activities and things like this. Read it through and ensure that your eye is encouraged to go down the page. If it's difficult for the recruiter to find what they're looking for, they're probably only going to spend about 7 seconds on it.
Yeah, that's very good advice, I think, for most of us who are applying for jobs. So how valuable are university societies to companies like Canva in terms of outreach, job advertisements, sponsorships?
Super valuable. So we had 25% of our intern cohort last year hear about opportunities through university societies, which in recruitment world is huge. But it's also super important because we get to connect with students who are potentially in their first year. One of our interns who was with us this past summer, I remember the event that we met. It was in 2018, and it was our diversity in tech night, actually with CSC Soft, where Mel presented, and I met her there. And we just kind of, it wasn't quite right timing, but I remember when Van found that she'd applied, she shared her application. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's time, like she can finally join us. So don't feel that it's a wasted effort if you are earlier on, because we do remember you. And this is a way that we can actually create a connection with those who we can be interviewing down the track. So you're more than just an application or a resume that comes across our table. Universities are super important, but we're also exploring those who have come into tech through non-traditional means. So those who have just self-taught, those who have gone to boot camps as well. For those who we hire into Canva, we need to be building a community that reflects our users. And if our mission is to empower the world to design, then we need people from vast backgrounds to build a product that is built for everyone. And that comes from different avenues. So yeah.
Yeah, and also comes back to diversity.
Exactly.
How do technical interviews for grad backend and just normal backend software engineer differ? Because you kind of mentioned that before, there was like an interview that's different.
So for grad and then backend software engineers, you're actually doing the same interview. And you're given the same questions, but you aren't expected to kind of get to the extent that someone who's been in the industry for 10 years will get to. So they've clearly articulated kind of, well, this is the expectation of what a great grad would look like. in terms of how far they progress through the question, and the same for those who have been more experienced. The internship program is only one that differs, where they have specific questions for the internship program.
So just less expectation in terms of grad and
But still, that's why it's important that we're not expecting you to know everything, but work with the interviewer to clarify the solution that you do propose.
Exactly.
Yeah, here is a follow-up question about, like, you just said that we need candidates from different backgrounds. So he said, like, this person asked, like, is it unusual to apply for an intern? I don't study coding. I study aerospace engineering, but I've developed a passion for coding, and my friends in Canva have said great things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Totally. We have so many people who studied electrical engineering and then came to the light and decided to study coding. You don't actually, as I mentioned, you don't need to have completed a computer science or software engineering degree to get into Canva as a software engineer, because you have, I'm imagining with aerospace, a lot of mathematical problem solving that is as a foundational requirement to be successful at Canva.
Cool. What's the difference between joining as a grad and software engineering? I don't think there is any difference, right?
No difference.
Yeah, no.
Exact same.
Cool. Does Canva have support for minority groups?
Yeah, definitely. So we touched on it a little bit before, but it for those who are underrepresented groups, so whether that is from a gender, whether you're a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, whether you have relocated to Australia to join Canva, we want to ensure that it's a safe space for everyone and it's tailored to specifically for what that group needs. So for example, at Canva, we don't have gendered bathrooms. So whenever you approach a bathroom, it just tells you what's behind the door. So that's ensuring that those who aren't tied to or don't identify as the traditional gender assignments can confidently walk into a room. It's not essential, but if you are comfortable in sharing your pronouns, so I have she, her on my Zoom background, I have that on my Slack, and I have that on my Canva world. Once again, it is not essential, but I just view it as something that I would like to share. And if someone is comfortable in sharing their pronouns, I think that's awesome. So yeah, we do in the tailored ways that they need it to be successful at Canva.
Great to hear about that. How important is your LinkedIn profile for intern applications?
We look at LinkedIn profiles a lot. I'm actually doing a presentation with UNSW Management Society in a few weeks about kind of networking and LinkedIn and stuff. If anyone would like to come along, we can talk about LinkedIn. It's another way, view it as another way for the recruiter to get to know you. The longer they're spending on getting to know you, an opportunity to stand out as well as connect with those in the community. They're not necessarily looking at how many connections that you have. That's not the value here, but it's the fact that you've gone out of your way for and shown initiative for you to put your best foot forward. So I would say it's not as essential, but it's really important. It reflects really positively on you and your profile.
One of our co-presidents, Michael Griffin, has asked, I know it's been asked again. Is CSC your favorite society?
Even with those emojis as well.
I know.
I can't. You hold a special place in my heart, CSC Sock. But there's no favoritism here. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Michael.
Breaking my heart, Michael.
Selena.
Yeah, here's another question. So relating to the mentorship program you just mentioned, like, can you talk a little bit about the mentorship tech software engineers get?
Yeah, for sure. So whenever someone joins Canva, you're assigned a buddy. So they are your go-to for all Canva context that you need. So whether it's understanding what tools we use, or if it's normal to ask people to go on coffee dates, which it is, it's very normal. People they should be connecting with, just having a chat and checking in. So that's your buddy, just a bit more casual. And then you also have your coach. So other places might call this your manager. We don't really use manager, it's a bit corporate, but a coach. So your coach is there to set you up for success. And they've been identified as someone who wants to establish more of their leadership skills. And we view leaders as the multipliers for productive teams. So there's extensive training that they go through. I'm actually going through it at the moment. So it's 3 months. We run through things like coaching for motivation, how to set your newbie up for success. So they're empowered with the toolkits to set their newbies up. But it extends beyond that. If you look at mentorship, where we have different opportunities for you to connect as a subspecialty. So that's through like forums. So we have our front-end forum run every fortnight and a back-end forum every fortnight. And then, and this is an opportunity for you to share something that you've potentially just been working on and work on your presentation skills, but also to ensure that tribal knowledge is passed on. Actually speaking, going back to diverse groups, I think it was 2 weeks ago, our front-end forum was completely run by all of our kick-ass female engineers, and they just spoke on topics that they were really passionate about, and I thought that was awesome. So it extends beyond just the coach and buddy system. It's also different things like coffee dates, getting to know those who have worked at the likes of Facebook, Google, Uber, AWS, and you can actually go and understand what their journey was like, and it's super normal to connect like that across the business. So yeah, heaps of formal mentorship, but also heaps of informal mentorship at Canva as well.
That's so good. You said choosing a company based on the culture fit is important. Do you have any personal examples of this?
Yeah, I would say culture fit, but it also relates to your personal values. So if you, for example, I don't know, value how the company's like green footprint, for example, and sustainability is something really important for you, you're probably not going to go and work for a company that is known to be that opposite effect. You might value working really fast in a matrix system. So you're probably not going to go work for a traditional hierarchical company. So it's not necessarily whether you are, how can I say this? When it's you choosing the business to apply, in reference to the culture fit, so this is just in relation to predominantly just being a good human. So if you value kind of your self-promotion and not empowering your team members, but rather just being the one that's in lights all the time, then Canva's probably not a good place for you, but that's probably the only extent of a culture fit. Because, many of you may have experienced what it's like working with a difficult team member, and it slows your productivity. So we're literally the fastest growing software company in history. We don't want people to come in and for their own personal gain to slow the team down in any way.
Yeah, being a team player instead of like too brilliant, but Come
Exactly.
cooperate with others.
Exactly. You've got to be a team player.
Yeah. I heard of someone like somebody they finish work at 4 p.m. In Canva. So how's the work-life balance like in Canva?
Totally. So work-life balance, we actually just announced our hybrid working model that we're going to adopt moving forward. The driving values there are to ensure that people do the best work of their life, but people are living their best lives. So we have a lot of people who relocated to Sydney, and they might be, they've grown up in the country and that's where they're happy. So why not empower them to be able to live wherever they will be productive, and also ensure that they don't feel pressured to live in a city. We don't have set working hours as well. It's just ensuring you're reachable by the team. So I'm usually a bit more of a morning brain, so I might log in at 8 and then log off around like 4. I know other people that are more like 10 to 6. I know people that are like 7 till 3. Like there's it's as long as there's kind of some overlap, because just to make like scheduling a team meeting possible, then it's fine. Also, I was mentioning to Kaichi and Selena before, it's like I was running late to joining the call because I was just in like my hoodie and my trackies, so I had to look presentable. So yeah, it's super normal. I really value work life, and also throughout the whole period that we're going through, it was leading with compassion and permission to lead with compassion. So there is no need for you to log any leave that is below 3 hours. And our working parents right now who are also handling homeschooling, it is fine that their home life is the most important. So we are very compassion driven as well.
That is amazing. Yeah. Someone asked, have you worked at any other company?
I have, yes. So I've worked since I was 13 and a half. So I worked at a few companies, not to this degree. I worked as a travel agent for 3 years when I was at uni. And then I worked for a small talent agency. And then I was very lucky to, shortly after graduating, join Canva. So a bit of a random journey, but here I am and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so maybe like one last question or so how is Canva ethics in terms of data privacy and management compared to AWS, Google, Facebook?
Yeah, I probably can't comment in comparison to AWS, Google, and Facebook because I don't know the depths of the data privacy and management, and I also don't understand the technical depths of what we have at Canva as well. But it is of utmost importance, and I cannot stress that enough. In 2019, we did experience a data breach. And it was in May of 2019, known as May Day now. But what was important was the first priority was our customers, and it continues to be every day. Our customers have trusted us with their data privacy, and we really respect that. During the May Day period, multiple people jumped on board to support. There was no victim blaming. It was, let's just solve this together. We actually built a kudos wall to those who went through the night, through the weekend, just to ensure that Canva was safe again. Since then, we've heavily invested in our security team. So our security team is quite big at Canva and extensive. We also use platforms and tools for even just the way we log on to our tooling as day to day, to ensure that we're preventing any sort of breach. So extremely important.
Yeah, good to know. Maybe a few small questions. Is there a closing date for the data analytics internship program?
Or I would say apply like in the next few days.
ASAP.
ASAP. Because recruitment is starting yesterday. So what that means is they're going through reviewing the applications and selecting those who they'll go through to the first round. So get it in.
Yeah. Canva Girls Group skydiving.
My gosh, Canva Girls Group skydiving. I won't put it actually. I know people, some of the Canva team have gone skydiving as a goal celebration.
Ooh,
so
exciting.
It happens. I don't know if like all of Canva could. It's like a lot of people, a lot of planes. Don't know how safe that would be. But maybe just like small groups at once.
Yeah. We'll finish it off. Why is snowboarding better than skiing? Wait for our lightning talk. Haven't heard back from backend intern application manager. Yeah, keep it positive. They're working on it.
Positive.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Those who are in our backend, who apply to our backend roles, we are applying, starting to recruit for infrastructure. So there are a few backend positions within that group as well. So stay positive.
Yeah. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Jess, for taking the time with us on our lovely evening, definitely. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, everyone. It was fun. We can all share some white chocolate and pineapple and pizza soon.
Yeah, also